Winter's here, losers, and you know what that means. Time to cry yourself to sleep and hope that the aching dread of the emptiness that is the months after Christmas doesn't consume you. But hey, what's better than being alone with no one to touch you than being alone with anime where the main characters suffer almost as much as you are? I took it upon myself this season to watch as much as I could possibly handle. And let me assure you, I can handle quite a bit if you know what I'm saying. Haha, my ass hurts. I chose a few different shows that I think are actually worth your time. My goal was to get some stuff that I feel is a bit more niche, at least the ones that I personally have not heard people talk about. Don't get me wrong though, I am absolutely going to be having the big ones that people are constantly talking about and will be talking about for a long time. You know the ones. Though my goal is to make sure that they don't fill up the entire runtime of the video. I really wanted to shine a light on the ones that I felt were the hidden gems of this season. And without further ado, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, I present to you Anime Winter 2023. Starting off the list, we have High Card. This is the show that I wished more people talked about. In fact, it's what inspired me to make this video to begin with. High Card is what happens when you take a group of people with random abilities and put them in like a crime spy type setting and then just tell them to go kill each other. So basically Golden Wind. Instead of stands, High Card has cards that give people abilities like turning things into marble, really good luck, plant control, and the overpowered magical ability of a gun. Honestly, this show is just straight fun. For what it sets out to do, it does it really well. I found this show to be very easy to watch and I never found myself being bored at all. There's almost something constantly happening between a fun gag, a really cool, clever use of powers, or honestly surprisingly interesting character storytelling. From what I could tell, this one seemed to be the show that not many people are really discussing, at least in the places I've looked, which honestly is kind of a shame because this show really is a good time. Like, it's not the most perfect show by any means, but I really do think it is at least worth people giving it a shot and at least talking about every once in a while. But yeah, honestly, if you're bored and you're looking for something to watch, this is the one I recommend just sitting down and having a fun night with. Pray for the fire. Kaina of the Great Snow Sea is one of the most gorgeous shows I have watched this season. Yes, this is coming from the guy who just ranted about the CGI in Chainsaw Man for over 7 minutes. But I really mean it when I say this show is beautiful. The backdrops and the shots of the world are simply amazing. You really feel like this world is well put together and so much inspiration was gone into the creation of it. As someone who's been rather tired of a lot of shows, mainly isekai, having a standard generic fantasy world that you find at basically every game of Dungeons & Dragons, or I guess I should say Pathfinder now, thanks Wizards! It's very nice to get a show that isn't afraid to try something weird with its setting. I'm very excited to see where it takes us and how much it continues to expand on the world that's created, the types of environments we'll find ourselves in. I've always been a sucker for ice levels in games, even when they're absolutely infuriating. I'm looking at you, stupid fucking ice puzzle and Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. They really take time to just pull the camera back and let the environment sink in for a moment. And honestly, this is what they sort of do with the characters as well. You really have time to just let them be themselves for a bit. Now I should mention, I have not seen Made in Abyss yet. Please go in the comments and make fun of me. This is not a request, but I can imagine that people who enjoy that show might find something to enjoy here as well. Anyways, I highly recommend giving it a shot. What happens when you do something awful because someone commanding more respect than you asked you to do it? Are you the one in the wrong or the system? How do you atone for your sins to the loved ones you hurt? When do you atone for your sins? Revenger, not to be confused with the Tokyo variety, discusses all these questions, and I'm curious to see where it takes the answer to all of them. So far, I'm really enjoying this show. I find the action to be very slick and powerful. Sword strikes almost seem to hit exactly like they should. The characters seem interesting, and I hope that the larger cast gets enough development between them. It seems right now that's where it's going, but we'll see. Out of all the shows I've watched so far, I think Revenger has probably one of the better first episodes of them. I won't spoil too much, but but the way it sets up the story going forward and the fucking cliffhanger at the end, it really stuck with me for quite a bit. As I said, honestly, I find the characters to be really interesting, especially the doctor who uses a bow. I find him very intriguing, and I hope they do something cool with him later on. Or rather, more cool than ripping your shirt off and shooting a very heavy bow at a boat almost a mile away. I will say I am kind of nervous because it does give me the vibes of the show Fena Pirate Princess, which was a really good show for the beginning, but near the end, I felt it let all of the characters who weren't the main two sort of fall to the wayside, and I'm really hoping that this show doesn't do the same thing. Either way, if it keeps up like this, it's definitely worth your time. Paladins, clerics, magic-powered spaceships and technology, and annoying little shitheads that constantly speak in cat puns. If you're a tabletop RPG fan, a JRPG fan, or a filthy weeb like me who can't satiate his hunger for either, then Giant Beasts of Ars might catch your interest. As I said before, this show very much feels like a show inspired by JRPGs. It's got this high fantasy world that feels like it comes straight out of something like Final Fantasy or the Tales of series. I'm a sucker for worlds that mix classic fantasy elements with magic and sci-fi elements, and this show does this very well. You've got a really amazing magic system that I'm intrigued to hear more about, where two people, a paladin and a cleric, fuse together and become a person of raw power infused with the strength from the gods themselves. On top of that magic system, you have spaceships and forms of advanced technology that really gives the world a bit more of oomph. And this isn't even mentioning the giant beasts yet. The show honestly gives me vibes of a Saturday morning cartoon, where I'd wake up early to see what goofy antics the gang gets into this week. That's another thing I like about the show so far. Most of the characters seem very interesting, except for one. Normally, I'm not a huge fan of protagonists. For some reason, my brain doesn't like to like them above the side characters. But so far, the protagonist in this series is really good. A lot of times you see characters that are just, I'm the generic hero, but he seems to be a bit more jaded, but not in an edgy way, which is kind of fun. He seems to constantly do what is right and doesn't always seem adverse to doing it, though he does remain, like I said, a little bit of a jaded nature. It just leads for someone that's really fun to watch interact with the rest of the cast. The animation seems pretty good so far. Usually you'd see monsters in shows like this be completely 3D, but from what I've seen, all of them are 2D animation as well, which makes for some really flashy action scenes. From what I've seen so far, this show really has a lot going for it, and I'm happy to be along for the ride. If any of the things I've said so far is intriguing to you, then this one as well might be worth your time. Alright, so now we're getting to the shows I have heard people talk about. First up is Buddy Daddies. This show I usually see being brought up in relation to a controversy. From what I see, the topic of conversation regarding this show is in relation to whether or not it's just a clone of Spy Family. I can see the similarities, both being based on a show where two people, both of which are spies or assassins, are tasked with being the guardians of a little girl. Now the question is, do I personally think this show is a clone? My answer for that is no. Like I said, I understand the similarities, but to me, Spy Family is more of a family relationship slice of life type of show, whereas Buddy Daddies gives off a vibe of, what if Mike and Sully were assassins? I find the two main guys, Kazuki and Rei, to be very likable. Both of them have distinct personalities, and I like how the show is slowly unraveling their backstories, and how that affected them to get them where they are now. I like where it is going on that end, and I find myself constantly curious as to where the show will take them in the future. Alright, now this is the part where I get controversial. Because of that, I think it is fair to lay out my biases. I have never really been a huge fan of child characters in shows. Obviously there are exceptions where they are well done, but a show needs to do more than just have a cute kid to get me to like them. I'm also not a huge fan of the cute girls doing cute things genre. Sort of in the same vein of children in shows, I find cute for cute's sake to be not very engaging to me. With that out of the way, honestly I find Miri to be more of a plot device than anything else. There's a lot of moments where I feel like they just have her do random cute things because they needed to hit that cute quota for the episode. To me, there isn't much substance to her, at least not yet. My biggest frustrations with her character was in episode 2, where she happened to throw a fit the moment they were about to leave for a mission, almost as if the show needed an excuse to throw her into the plot. And then she happened to have to go pee and then run into the bad guy's house just to add a bit more drama to the episode. For me, it felt rather forced, and I wasn't really a huge fan of that. It felt more like a convenience than anything. With that being said, I encourage everyone to check it out and form their own opinions on it. Do you agree with me, or do you think my biases are getting in the way of a fair judgment on it? Please let me know. Overall, I think the show is very enjoyable, and I still think it is worth your time. Now, on to the final two shows for the video, Trigun Stampede and Nier Automata. Alright, now this is the part where you go to the comments to bully me again. I have not seen the original Trigun, save 2 or 3 episodes, and I have not played Nier Automata. My reviews on these shows come from the place of someone who's rather new to the concept, so please keep that in mind. Don't worry, I hate myself just as well for not having played the game or seen the show. However, I do believe that maybe this will give me a good opportunity to show people a slightly different perspective on the shows from someone who is new to the franchise and coming in from that end. Alright, so starting with Trigun Stampede. Holy shit, this show is good. I wasn't sure how I felt about Vash at first, but he very quickly grew on me. I love how he's sort of this Jack Sparrow type of character, where no one expects him to know what he's doing, and half the time you doubt it yourself, but then all of a sudden they come out with something absolutely badass. This show is one of those that I could not see working in 2D. The way the camera zooms around and rotates, it gives fight scenes way more dynamics and is an absolute blast to watch. I love how they take a few episodes to just stay in the one town and then slowly unfold how Vash being there affects the people who live there, which unfortunately unfolds into the heartbreaking climax of episode 3. Without spoiling too much for those who haven't seen it, I love how the show is setting up how people around Vash start to view him when he is around them for too long, and how that starts to affect him after a while. It's almost as if he sees himself as a burden and bad luck, and believes that everyone around him will inevitably view him the same if he doesn't leave shortly after showing up. It's a guy filled with tragedy who wants to do the right thing, but struggles to do it when he feels he's the one who brings the bad things with him. Overall, Trigun Stampede is worth your time. Alright, so finally we have Nier Automata. As I mentioned before, I have not played the Nier game. Although I have been wanting to. Steam, please put it on sale. Due to my lack of knowledge, I'm not sure as to what stuff is in the game and what isn't, so I apologize if I get something wrong on that end. To get the obvious out of the way first, this show is beautiful. The fight scenes are fluid and easy to follow, and the backdrops are simply gorgeous to look at. My favorite part about this show is how it takes the time to build up other characters and how they reflect on the theme of the story. My favorite example of this being episode 2, where it takes almost half of the runtime to only focus on this one group of nameless robots and watch as they do some old-fashioned gardening. It really takes the time to say how each of the machines could have different perspectives, that some of them have the ability to be pure and innocent despite being programmed for destruction. It really makes you question, what does it mean to have a soul, and if machines and androids have the capability to be human like the rest of us? I really question where 2B's story is going to go, and how she'll react to situations like these. Do machines have free will? Are they capable of being good despite programming? What does it even mean to be good? I find this show is asking all of these questions, and I'm really excited to find out what it does with it. I'm also absolutely terrified, as I just know this show will break me. At the end of the day, please give Nier Automata your time. Thank you. Hello, I hope you're all having a wonderful time. If you made it to this part of the video, first I wanted to say thank you very much. This is the first time I've ever put something of this amount of effort into a video before, and honestly, I really enjoyed myself. If you liked the video, please let me know. Feel free to leave a like on the video. Feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see more something like this. But anyways, I hope you guys have yourselves a wonderful day. Thanks again for making it this far.